Welcome to Where Are They Now? We reach into the archives of Lenape, Shawnee, Cherokee, and Seneca High Schools and invite selected alumni to share memories and fill us in on their career paths after commencement. Since Lenape's first graduating class in 1961, Shawnee's in 1972, Cherokee's in 1978, and Seneca's in 2005, over 72,000 individuals have received diplomas from these four schools.
Hello and welcome to Where Are They Now? I'm Mark Sonsini, a 1996 graduate of Cherokee High School. And today we'll be talking with a Shawnee graduate from the class of 2010. He is a senior product manager for Drift, a conversational marketing firm in Boston, Massachusetts, where he's joining us from today. I'd like to welcome Matt Bilotti to the show. Matt, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us today. So before we get into Shawnee, let's talk a little bit about how you got there. You didn't spend most of your childhood in Medford. Where did you start out at, and when did you come to the area?
Yeah, was born and grew up on Staten Island in New York and moved to Medford just before high school. So summer going into high school. So it was a brand new town, brand new people, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Fresh start for you.
Yeah, fresh start.
And any siblings that went to Shawnee as well?
Yeah, my younger sister, 2 years younger than me, went to Shawnee also.
Okay. And any friends from your days at Shawnee that you still keep in touch with today?
Yeah, got a bunch of friends that I still keep in touch with, some that I text pretty much every day. One of my best friends, Tyler, actually just got engaged this past weekend.
Oh, terrific.
Which is awesome.
Very cool. So let's talk about your time at Shawnee, some activities you were involved in. You were captain of the bowling team, and you almost had a 300 game.
Yes, it was at a holiday tournament. It was like a regional tournament with all the schools, I think in South and Central Jersey.
Okay.
And the thing is, when you're bowling and you're getting a bunch of strikes in a row, the more strikes you get in a row, the more that everyone around you starts to notice and
Right.
stops, like as a courtesy.
Yeah.
And so I got into the 10th frame with all strikes, and then you need 3 more because you get 3 balls if you get all strikes in the 10th frame.
Right.
And it's like 30 lanes to each side, complete silence, like all these students from all the schools there. My hands are shaking.
A little bit of pressure.
I got the first strike, and then I got a 9 on the next one. But that was one of my most vivid high school memories.
That's a good one. And a couple clubs you were involved in at Shawnee, Future Business Leaders of America, and DECA, you were the vice president of that club.
Yep. DECA had an amazing time, learned a ton, and it was the thing that really, like the business classes gave me a sense of that's kind of where I wanted to head.
Okay.
But DECA was the thing that showed me that I'm actually pretty good at that stuff. And so I had amazing experiences there doing the competitions, both the regional, and then wound up going to nationals my senior year of high school.
Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. A couple of the staff members at Shawnee that really had an impact on you. One was Ralph Atwell, your guidance counselor.
He helped me gear myself towards Northeastern, where I ended up going, and I was just like always super supportive of me, and I owe a lot to him for that.
And another one that you have a lot of strong connection with is Melissa Pilbosian, who is now Melissa Dietz, and she was your business teacher at Shawnee.
Yes, she was like the person that really mentored me in high school and even beyond. Like, she has still connected me to some students who are at Shawnee that are on a similar track. I'm actually really good friends with one who she connected me with while he was in his junior year, and he wound up going to Northeastern, and now I see him all the time.
Very cool.
So Misty was 100% like one of the biggest influences on me from that stage in my life.
And you took entrepreneurship class with her, and that,
Yep.
as we'll get into, that had a big impact on your career path. And some of the big memories that you have are also in her classes or clubs that she was a part of with you. You had 2 state competitions and DECA Nationals, and you won some other business competitions. So tell us about some of those.
Yeah, so DECA Nationals was a super cool experience. We went down to Louisville I think there were 8 or 9 of us that went there. But we did it through regionals, and I was in this category as restaurant management.
Okay.
And it just kind of like happened to be a category that I had picked as one that I wanted to compete in. I also worked at a local pizzeria called Riviera in Medford,
Yep.
which
Okay.
people in Medford would know well.
Sure.
And so I picked like restaurant management as a thing to do because I kind of knew it. But I did the regionals and somehow wound up in second place for that, which was quite a cool surprise. And then going to nationals was a really amazing experience. Actually wound up making some good friends with people from other schools in the Lenape District. While we were there, we kind of all hung out as a crew together. And
Cool.
actually, a couple of those people I still keep in touch with today. Like one of them reaches out every now and then, and I check in, ask how his life's going. So yeah, that whole experience was really cool. And I made some good friends through that.
Awesome. So after Shawnee, you graduate, and it's time to off to college. And for a while, you had your heart set on going to Penn State, but that's not exactly what happened. Tell us the story behind that.
Yeah. So Penn State was like in my head. That's where I wanted to go. I remember going to the campus and just feeling like this is an awesome place, and I feel like I can really learn and grow. And I got accepted into this pretty exclusive leadership program. It was called like the Sapphire Leadership Program, something like that.
Okay.
And only a handful of students get selected into it every year. And so I was all about Penn State, and I distinctly remember this moment. I had agreed, like with my parents, Penn State makes a lot of sense. It's a really good place. And I sat down with my mom, and we went through the enrollment form, like the whole form, name, background, like everything you possibly need to fill out to enroll in college. I don't remember exactly what those things are.
And this is online, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got to the credit card part where you have to put down, the $1,000 enrollment deposit,
Sure.
Which I believe you don't get back. And we filled it all out, and my mouse was hovering over the confirm button. And I looked at my mom and said, "Should I press it?" And she said, "If it feels right, yes." And I thought about for a couple seconds, and you know what? Let me just spend a little bit more time just making sure that this is what I want to do.
Right.
And so I slept on it. And what I actually wound up doing was I made a spreadsheet of costs of going to Penn State and costs of going to my other top options, which were like University of Delaware and Northeastern University at the time.
Okay.
And Northeastern had given me a good scholarship, and I kind of I made like summed totals of how where would my financial situation be by the time I graduate.
Okay.
And I remember looking at the Northeastern, and like, wow, that I actually wind up in a really good spot because of the scholarship that they're offering me. Maybe this makes more sense, and I just dug into it a little bit more. And started to realize that like Boston is such a cool place to go to college with all the other schools around. The scholarship was like they clearly wanted me to be a part of it.
Right.
The co-op program to be able to go work at companies while you're in school was just such a good thing that as much as I felt like my heart was on Penn State, I realized over that next week that Northeastern was the best place for my future and my career. And I'm super happy I did. Like that hesitation to not click that button was one of the most important moments of my life.
Yeah, it's little things like that that at the time, sometimes you realize it, but you never know how your life could have been if you made that choice. But you're doing well, so I think you made the right one. So you're at Northeastern University in Boston, and business administration with entrepreneurship major. And you become the president of the Northeastern Entrepreneurship Club, which is one of the top of its kind in the country. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I showed up to Northeastern, and in my head I was like, I'm going to make the absolute best of this. I'm going to get involved in everything and go all club. So I got super, super involved in a bunch of them, and the Entrepreneurs Club was the one where I just really felt like I clicked with all the people and as part of it. And so got really involved. I got a couple mentors my freshman year and sophomore year, and by my third year, which at Northeastern was called a Midler at the time because Northeastern's a 5-year program because they have 3 6-month co-ops. It's weird and confusing. Now they just call it like third year sophomore or third year junior. Anyway.
Okay.
So got super, super involved, and it's a completely student-run effort. and wound up becoming the president, which was really cool. We had weekly meetings on Tuesdays where we would invite the whole undergraduate population, but of course not everyone comes, but
sure.
We had 150 people coming to every single one of those meetings, which was one of the largest clubs on campus.
Okay.
And then we also ran programming 5 out of 7 of the other days of the week. So we had stuff going on 6 out of 7 days of the week.
Wow.
Startup competitions, weekly speakers with big name CEOs. Like we had the CEO of TripAdvisor, CEO of Wayfair. We had the co-founder of Warby Parker, where I have my glasses from. We had some really, really amazing people come by.
So were you in charge of reaching out and getting these people, or?
Yeah, I would just cold email these people, and It was shocking how many people actually agreed. And what I realized was, in getting those people on board to come speak, is they always ignore the first email because they get tons of those.
Sure.
But if you follow up 2 or 3 times, they'll actually say, you know what, this person cares enough on me that they're going to get a couple hundred students, and CEO doesn't want an opportunity to pitch a bunch of people that might go work for them once they graduate, right? It's pretty good trade-off. So yeah, learned a ton, made some of my best friends from school, made some amazing mentors as well during my time as Entrepreneurs Club president.
And also while you're there, you become a managing partner of a student-led venture capital fund. Now explain how that works. I'm assuming this is not student capital that they're putting up, because college students don't always have a lot of that. So explain how that works.
Yeah, so it's a program that was started, so it's called Dorm Room Fund, and it was a program that was started by a venture capital firm called First Round Capital. And basically what they said was, we're going to set aside $2 million of our own investing money and start up funds run by students in 4 cities, so San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. And the students, so a team of about 10 students from all of the schools in the area, have agency over who they're going to invest in. So I wound up being the managing partner of a group of 11 students on the team, and the students were from Northeastern, Harvard Business School, MIT Sloan, Boston College, and Boston University.
Okay.
And we got to write checks for $20,000 to invest in students who were founding companies while they were in school, to give them the ability to continue to focus on it and then really go all in on that idea or that business once they did graduate, because they had some funding to get them started. So that was an incredible learning opportunity, especially to be able to work with all the other people. There were MBAs on our team who had been in industry for 10 years, and to be able to sit in a room with them and talk about, should we invest in this company,
right,
and why should we, and what should we be thinking about? That learning opportunity was just unbelievable. So we had $500,000 to invest over the course of 2 years.
Any notable companies that came out of any of those investments?
Yeah, so for anyone that knows what Y Combinator or YC is, or Techstars, they're like startup accelerator programs to help young startups. We made 25 investments in those first 2 years, and I believe 9 of those companies wound up going through something like Y Combinator or Techstars, which is like the cream of the crop type program to go through.
Okay.
And there's a couple companies in Boston that have grown a decent amount. One is called BevSpot, which is like an 80-person company now. Another is called Love Pop, which sells these greeting cards that you open up, and they're like these three-dimensional cutouts. They're really, really cool. There's like pop-up stands for them all around Boston. And another company called Bevy, which does these like soda, seltzer water dispensers in offices. Okay. I think they're like a 60-person team at this point. So yeah, it was really cool. For every $1 that we invested in companies, those companies wound up raising an additional $32, right? So we gave a company $20,000, they wound up raising 600, whatever 12 times that is.
Right, okay. Very cool. So obviously you're very much into startups, and that being the case, you decide to take some time off and pursue your own. Tell us about that and what happened there.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Northeastern's a co-op program. So what that means is you basically are in school for a year and a half, and then you spend 6 months full-time work in a company. So it's basically an elongated internship. Where you really become part of the team. And so the first one that I did was with a super, super young startup in Boston, and there was just a handful of us working on it, and I'd worked on it for 6 months, and it felt like we were really on a track to build something amazing. And so I decided that let me extend this a little bit further. So beyond just the 6 months,
Okay.
I decided to take a leave of absence from school to like see if I can see it out and make it happen. And ultimately it didn't wind up working out for a whole bunch of reasons. Some of which was I was young and I didn't really know what I was doing.
Sure.
And so I certainly didn't help. But it was a really, really cool learning experience. And Northeastern gave me the leeway to be able to come back without losing my scholarship, for example. And I'm glad I did, because I wound up doing other stuff like dorm room fund and another co-op that led to where I am today at Drift.
And what sort of business venture was this that you attempted?
Yeah, it was like a 2-part business. We had a marketing agency that marketed brands towards college students.
Okay.
And then we had another side of it that was like a web platform that allowed companies to do real-time market research, and like people can go on and answer questions to get free stuff, right? So a company, if they're trying to sell apparel to people like females 20 to 30 in New England, they can target that group of people and ask a question about apparel to them and pay us to ask those questions.
Okay.
But we had some trouble making the two-sided part of the marketplace work.
Okay. So that didn't work out, but I'm sure it was a huge learning experience for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I certainly would not take that back in any way, shape, or form. I learned so much and grew a ton as a result of that, and I'm still thankful to this day that I was able to do that, and thankful to Northeastern that they gave me the flexibility to be able to see that through.
Okay, so after your time off, you're back at Northeastern, and you're named one of two first ever global officers. And through that, you get to travel to 26 cities in 19 countries and 5 continents over the course of 5 months. So tell us how you got selected for that and what you did during that time when you're traveling.
Yeah. So that was like a true once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity. So basically, the president of Northeastern decided that, hey, we run this co-op program. How about I hire a co-op? So he put an open application to all students to apply for what was called the Global Officer. Okay. And the high level of it was this student would travel the world for Northeastern, making connections, and helping expand our global footprint. What would you do, right? So it was like apply for this and pitch what you would do if you got selected for this. Okay. So my pitch was that I would travel the world and connect with the top startups in different cities and build connections so that Northeastern students can go co-op there in the future, right? So okay. Students can go work in Germany for 6 months at a cool startup or that kind of thing. And okay. It was this crazy cool production where it kind of felt like a reality TV show. Like hundreds of students applied, and then 25 were chosen, and then those 25 had to submit like a written job description of exactly what they would do every single day, right? And then okay. 16 people were picked, and then they all had to submit a 1-minute pitch video, and then 4 people were selected, and then we all had to go get interviewed on camera with the president of Northeastern, and then 2 were selected, and then they had like camera crews come to our apartments individually. They made this whole video about it, and then they were going to announce one single winner at what Northeastern has this like state of the university thing once a year where thousands of people show up and they have a live stream, and so they were announcing it on stage at this event. They play the video that was all the interviews and all this stuff cut up, and the president said, usually I'm very decisive, but I have a hard time picking between these 2 students. It was me and a woman, Caitlin, who was pitching that she wanted to connect with social enterprises so that Northeastern students can co-op there. Okay. And he basically said to the audience, like, who should I pick? I'm not sure. And of course, everyone said, take both of them. And so they picked both of us. And then the next 6 months was a complete whirlwind. As you had mentioned, I went to 26 cities, 19 countries. It was really like get on a plane, spend 4 days somewhere, meet with alumni, students that are abroad, and a bunch of startup companies, and then pack my bags and go to a new time zone with a new city with new food and a new hotel and new transportation. Like
Wow.
It was this nonstop. I'd spent anywhere between 3 and 7 days in a place,
Okay.
but it was such a cool opportunity, and I met some really, really amazing people along the way.
Yeah, it does sound like a reality TV show. I'm surprised
Yeah.
nobody picked that up. When you're writing the application for this and you're writing kind of what you see the position as, are you writing it and thinking, I'm going to shoot for the stars here, this may not actually work out like this? And were you surprised when it did, when it pretty much was exactly how you wrote it?
Yeah, I mean, I had applied and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this thing, but let me try anyway. And then I got picked for the next level and I was like, all right, maybe I have a chance here and let me work on this. And I had some really, really great help from a lot of my friends at the time, because I would like send them my draft for the thing and they say, hey, Matt, like, you really have to rework this section. And so a lot of people helped me get to that. But yeah, I mean, even up to the very end, when they had a camera on the two of us and we're like, we're going to pick one of them
right.
in front of 3,000 people, I was like, they're going to pick her. Like, they're definitely going to pick her. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was such a surprise, and really like a true amazing opportunity.
So tell us some of the places, you don't have to go through all 19 countries, but tell us some of your favorite places that you went during this.
Yeah, I loved my time in Berlin. So I spent about 10 days in Berlin in Germany.
Are you traveling by yourself through this, or?
Yeah, by myself the whole time. So basically, Caitlin and I had split up the world.
Okay.
We like literally pulled up Google Maps and we were like, all right, you can focus on this continent, you can focus here. So I got to focus on Europe and Asia, and with a couple other stops in, quick stop in South Africa, a quick stop in Australia. But yeah, wound up flying solo through the whole thing.
Okay.
And so I spent some time in Berlin. I loved Berlin, especially because it has it's this melting pot of talent that is creating really interesting companies, because the cost of living is so low in Berlin that it's attracted all these like starving artist types, which are the types of creatives that help build new companies and new startups. And so it's this really amazing intersection of a place that, one, the city is trying to find its own identity because it's gone through so many transitions over the past couple hundred years.
Right.
And then you have all these other people that are also trying to find their identity, and some of them are doing that through building companies. And so I just met some really, really great people, and I think Berlin has an amazing future as like a global startup hub. So I love that. I spent some time, a couple days, and these few days were just vacation, but I spent a couple days in Tokyo in Japan, and I just loved the culture there. That was a really fun experience. I really liked Singapore. Singapore is really cool because I think it's positioned in the middle of Asia and is English speaking enough that it's kind of like the perfect landing pad for a company that's expanding into Asia to open a first office, because there's a bunch of talent there. So I really enjoyed like learning about that culture and the way that city state operates.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was the language barrier an issue for you, or most of the places you went, they spoke English as well, or? Yeah,
most of the places I was able to get by with English. Admittedly, I really don't speak much else. I speak a little bit of Spanish because I took it in Shawnee. But I'm trying to think. I had a little bit of trouble in South Korea, in Seoul. That the language barrier is a little tough.
Yeah.
But I also had a really great friend who I went to Northeastern with, and she like brought me around and introduced me to people, and kind of helped me through there. But yeah, I was really surprised. Like I thought I was gonna have a really hard time. Paris, I had a bit of a hard time in Paris. But in most places, most people speak English as a second language for sure.
Okay. You're just getting ready to graduate college at this time, and you've traveled the world. And you're named one of 13 student entrepreneurs to keep an eye on by a local online publication in Boston. So you're getting your name out there. So after college, you immediately moved to Drift, which is where you're still at today. So tell us how you made the connection with that company.
Yeah, so it all kind of comes back to the Northeastern Co-op program, because my second co-op was at another growing startup in Boston called HubSpot, which is now a publicly traded company. They do like marketing automation.
Okay.
And so I did my co-op there. And when I graduated, I was trying to figure out, all right, I want to join. Well, I really wanted to start my own company by the time I graduated.
Okay.
And I told everyone I was going to do that. Like, that was the plan.
Right.
And I tried a couple things with a few people, and none of them panned out by the time I was graduating. And none of them felt like I'm ready to commit the next few years in my life to this thing that doesn't exist yet. So I decided the next best thing was to join a couple founders who have done this before and built companies and kind of know what they're doing. And so I had reached out to the co-founders of Drift, who had just left HubSpot maybe 8 or 12 months prior to go start their own company. And these guys had built 5 companies in the past. 3 of them they had built together, and they sold all their companies. So I was like, all right, these guys are the guys in Boston that have done this before and been there. And so I reached out to them, and they knew of my work from when I was at HubSpot. And so I talked to them 30 minutes, and then by the next morning I was in the office working for them, and I haven't left since. And at the time I had joined, I was employee number 9. We didn't have any customers or any revenue yet. And now the company is almost at 300 people. I'm the most tenured employee, which is a weird thing. Like, it comes with this amount of authority or influence that I just don't necessarily deserve, but I get because I have all this context as to how the company's been built. And so I've been here. It's just been an incredible journey. People in the startup world talk about, like, find a rocket ship or join the company that's taking off and is going to be this great big thing. And at the time when we were super early and I just joined, I was like, I don't know how we're going to make anything. We don't have anything built yet. We don't have any customers. No one cares about what we're doing. But now this past week, we just launched a top 20 best-selling business book in the country, number 2 selling book at Barnes & Noble. Like, there's this whole community of people that follow our company and love what we do, and it's growing like crazy. So yeah, it's been amazing. Did not expect it for sure, but it has turned out well.
So in the about 3.5, 4 years that you've been there, you go from, as you said, basically a fledgling company with no clients to now over 150,000 businesses, and it's a conversational marketing. So explain to us what exactly that is and what you do there.
Yeah, so the way that most businesses buy from businesses, so like if you're a company and you want to buy some other software from another company, that whole process looks like you go to the website, you find a contact form, you fill out the contact form, and then that company like scores you. Are you a good potential customer? Are you not? And if you are, then maybe a salesperson will call you and send you some emails, and you're trying to eat dinner and your phone's ringing. And it's just this whole messy process no one really loves. But it's like the best in class in the way that most businesses operate when they're selling to other customers. And so Drift, we position ourselves as the new way businesses buy from businesses, which means when someone comes to your website and they're ready to buy, instead of sending them to a form or some other process where someone will get in touch later, it is a chat widget and a chat bot that connects you now to the people at that company, right? So as a company, you buy our software because you want to talk to your best potential customers now and not make them wait, right? So we help streamline that process through intelligent chatbots and a chat platform and email platform.
Okay, and then it sort of increases the efficiency so that the right people get to speak with the right people that they need to talk to, the sales reps and so on.
Exactly.
Okay, and what is your role in all of this? What are you doing?
Yeah, so my role has definitely shifted around a bunch as the company's grown. So I started just being the product manager. So product manager basically means you work with engineers and designers and the rest of the stakeholders at a company to understand what is it we need to do next, and like what are customer pains. You have to deeply understand the customer, and you bring customer problems back to the team and say, here are the things our customers are trying to do that they can't do today. Okay. Here's what other companies are doing to try to solve this. How can we solve this ourselves? And then I help guide the team to build the new software, whatever it might be. So early on, I was the one that helped build all the core parts of the product. So the chat widget, the chat bots, the email platform, all those things. And then about a year ago, I transitioned over to this team called the growth team, which is it's less looking at what is the customer problem and how do we build things to address that. Okay. And it's more what is going on with the business and how do we supercharge the business, right? So, we might look at the business and say, we need more people signing up for our free product. And so it's my responsibility as the product manager on that team to figure out what stuff can we do, right? Like what experiments can we run to get more people signing up for the product? Okay. And so it's become this like super data-driven experimental role, which I love. It's been such a cool opportunity. But yeah, my role has changed a lot. Like early on, I was the only person doing customer support, and I was doing product marketing videos, and I was doing all this other random stuff just because it had to get done. And then
there was only 9 employees, so you had to wear a few different hats at that time.
Yeah. And then we hired people that like knew that thing super well, and they showed up and hand off customer support and hand off product marketing stuff. But it's been really cool, and I love where I'm at today. I feel like I'm still learning a ton.
Great, that's awesome. So when you're not doing running the business at Drift, what do you like to do in your free time? I know you're into sailing recently.
Yeah. I got into sailing a couple summers ago here in Boston. They have this amazing program where for very cheap you can get a pass to take sailing classes and take out a boat whenever you want. So I signed up a couple years ago and got really into it. And so I try to go out every weekend in the spring and the summer right on the Charles River in Boston. And the Charles River is what separates Boston from Cambridge. So on one side is all Boston, where Northeastern and Boston University is and all that. And then on the other side of the river is like Harvard, MIT, and all that. So right along the Charles, if you ever go to Boston in the summer, you'll see all the sailboats out on the water. Okay. So it's very likely that I'm on one of those.
Might see you out there. Okay.
Going by on a weekend.
And you also like to travel too. You obviously did a lot of travel as we talked about earlier, but you like to do a lot of travel still, and just for vacation. And Ireland and Iceland, I know, are 2 places that.
Yeah, I went to Iceland a couple years ago. Went to Costa Rica last year, and then I actually have a trip lined up 2.5 weeks from now. So at Drift, if you've been with the company for 3 years, you get a 1-month sabbatical where you get paid leave to do whatever you want. And so I'm using that, of course, to go on a travel adventure. And so on February 22nd, I am getting on a plane. I'm going over to Southeast Asia. I'm going to check out Thailand for a little bit, a few days, and then I'm going to go to Ho Chi Minh City in southern Vietnam, and I'm going to buy or rent a motorcycle and then just solo backpack all through the country up to Hanoi for 3 weeks. And I'm terrified about it because I don't have anything like planned. Like I've realized that in all my travel and all the stuff I've done, I've always had a really good plan of exactly what I'm going to do and where I'm going to go, and my day-to-day is the same. And so I figure, let me use this sabbatical as a way to get uncomfortable and get out of that zone where I know exactly what's going to happen next. Right. And so I'm just going to kind of wing this whole thing, and it should be fun. Like there's definitely going to be low points, but there's going to be some high points as well, and I'm super excited for that. I got my backpack all packed. I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Sounds like another great learning experience for you.
Yeah.
And you also like to give back, and you speak a lot of speaking engagements to panels for entrepreneurship students and others. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so whenever I possibly can, I try to go back to Northeastern and join alumni panels or give talks whenever possible. Every now and then, other companies tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Matt, can you come talk at this event?" So I love giving back. People say that the advice that I give is useful, and sometimes it feels like I'm just blabbering on. But if people are telling me it's useful, then I guess it is for them. So I just love connecting with students reach out to me all the time and say like, "Hey Matt, like how do I join a company like Drift, or how do I get involved and do things like that?" And I have been helped so much along the way from other people who were a few years ahead of me from where I was when I was a student, that I feel like it's only fair to give back and give back more, because I just simply wouldn't be here without a certain set of people,
Sure.
like the president of the Entrepreneurs Club before me, and my first boss at my co-op at HubSpot. Like, these are people that really helped me on my trajectory, and so I just love any opportunity to help other students or founders or whatever it might be in Boston or beyond to get to those next steps.
That's a great way to look at it. What's the future hold for you? Any plans or goals other than your travel? Still thinking about starting up more new businesses in the future? What's it hold for you?
Yeah, so I definitely I still love being at Drift, and I want to continue seeing it out and building it. The step after that is most likely start my own thing or join another really young company, less than 10 people, trying to figure out product market fit. Like, what are they going to build? What customers are they solving for?
Okay.
I just love that stage. And for right now, I have this incredible opportunity to see Drift go from 0 customers all the way to maybe 1,000 employees and beyond. And so I want to keep seeing out that journey, and then see if I can then go back to point 0 and help build that sort of thing again. As a challenge for the future. So got no immediate plans for it, but that is currently where my mind is pointed once I am ready to move on.
Excellent. Well, you've had a lot of success so far. We congratulate you on that, and all the best in the future for us. And thanks for joining us today. It's been great having you here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mark.
And that'll do it for this episode of Where Are They Now? For more Lenape District alumni interviews, check us out on youtube.com/Lenape District TV. We'll see you next time.